Just being present and having your energy there can sometimes be enough, but don't feel like you have to control every step of the way. Don't feel like it is your responsibility to make every right decision. Think about what it feels like when you are losing someone. There is that feeling of wanting to grasp, wanting to hold on, wanting to make sure that you can take as much of that time that you have left with that person or that pet as much as possible. And sometimes that is within your control, and sometimes it's not. Welcome to the Akashic Recordings. My name is Annette DeLu. I'm an Akashic conduit, channel, and spiritual guidance coach. What you will be hearing today is a real session with one of my clients. All the names have been changed for privacy, and of course, with their permission, we are privileged to hear these beautiful stories to allow us a small glimpse into the Akashic Records. If you would like to book a session with me and be part of the podcast, please feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. When you book your session, just make sure to check the box that you would be interested in having your session utilized for the podcast. Soul Discovery Workshop is rapidly approaching for our next session. Registration will be opening on June 12th, 2025. For those of you who have already signed up for the wait list, you will be able to register 1 full week ahead of time. This time registration will be open for 4 weeks, and I will be also offering those who join Soul Discovery Workshop for this next course will get a discount on one-on-one sessions with me. So once again, registration is opening June 12th and will be closing on July 10th. You can pay in full. You can also pay in 4 increments. Classes will be starting mid-August. We haven't chosen a date yet because I'm going to wait to see who registers, and we're going to decide on a date together what works best for everyone's schedule. I cannot wait to connect with all of you, to help you with your spiritual gifts and teach you how to access the Akashic Records and form these beautiful bonds as you will with all of the rest of the people in the course. So make sure you head to my website on June 12th to register for Soul Discovery Workshop. In today's episode, we are joining Celeste once again, and this is roughly about 11 months after the session that you heard last week. There were several things that Celeste wanted to discuss in this particular session. First, she lost her other cat, Roundy, who was a little over 14 years old. And we discuss why Roundy had to leave at this exact time. One of the other themes that we discuss during this session is the idea of guilt and the feeling of hopelessness when we feel we could have done more for a loved one, where we could have done something different in order to help them or save them. And our angels and guides really dive into this subject to help us understand what our role is, and that we don't have to take on the heavy, heavy weight of saving our loved ones. Before we get started into the session, I would like to address a couple of things that happened during the session. I know this isn't customary that I come on here and speak before you listen to the session, but there is some context that needs to be given. The first thing is there was a session that I had with Celeste in between these 2 sessions. She did in fact get back Boo, her Akashic guide, in another cat form. And the cat that she got had a mother who was in foster homes over and over again. And so she ended up adopting Boo's, well, now Obi's mother as well. One of the things that came up in that session as well was that Boo was having a hard time with the frenetic energy of a kitten. And so when I checked in on him, he was spending a lot of his time outside of that kitten body. So when Celeste was feeling into the energy of that kitten, she wasn't really feeling Boo. And the reason why was because Boo had to wait until the kitten got a little bit older, so the energetic match would be a little bit closer. The next thing I want to address is during this session, some very unique things happened. I was in Puerto Rico at the time. I was house sitting for a friend of mine, and she has those Alexas, the echoes all over her house where you talk to them and they do things for you or give you information. And prior to this session, earlier in the week, I had a couple of different experiences where I would say something in the session and Alexa would come out and say, "I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying." And I'm like, oh, come on, seriously? So, I mean, I'm not used to having these things in my house because I do not have them. So in this session, I thought that that was sort of what was happening. And as it turns out, it really, really wasn't. So in the session, you'll hear me shout, "Echo, stop." And because I was trying to get this music to turn off. What happened was music turned on in the middle of the session. Actually, it was towards the beginning of the session. And it was at full volume. And for those of you who have been following me for a long time, you will know the significance of this. The song was Ed Sheeran's Perfect, which I was laughing really hard. Anyway, so I couldn't turn off this music. So I was telling Alexa to stop the music, to be quiet, all of these things wouldn't work. As it turns out, it was coming from the Bose speaker that my friend had attached to her television, which was not part of the Alexa system at all, and was in fact not even voice activated. I literally had to unplug the speaker in order for it to stop. So I knew this was a message coming from my guides. Now, the really funny thing is hindsight. So I say in the session, and you'll hear me say it, that, oh, okay, so my guides really just wanted to get my attention. But the funny thing is, they had been trying to get my attention for a couple of days. I recall now, I was watching a couple of different shows while I was doing some work and whatnot. And like my laptop kept on not playing the show, or it wouldn't cast to the television, or the television that I was watching would just not work. So all of these things were happening leading up to this. And then finally, the message got so loud that it had to be literal, like a literal loudness that happened, like a literal shouting at me, like, "Hey, pay attention." So you do find out later on in the session that this message was in fact for me. Now, I'm going to dive into this message a little bit. The message itself wasn't particularly important, but I think what was important for all of you to know is that if there's something that you're missing, don't worry. Your guides will be loud about it. They will make sure that you know what is coming. Okay. Essentially, the reason why they gave me this warning, it wasn't a warning necessarily, it was just a heads up, if you will, is they wanted me to be in my divine feminine, since the Ed Sheeran songs and Ed Sheeran represents the pure divine love that I'm seeking, or that I am attracting, if you will. And many of you might know this from the dream that I had years ago that I talk about on this podcast on occasion. So this was a message to me, because in the past, when I would get a text message from somebody I'm interested in, let's say, and they literally say, "Oh, hey, what's up?" Like, I take that as oh, they want to engage. And then I basically just kind of go a little nuts and start saying, "Hey, let's get together. Let's do this. Let's do that." And that is, guess what? Divine masculine. So they were trying to really show me that I needed to be in my divine feminine, match people for the energy they're giving me. So in other words, if I'm getting a text that say, "Hey, what's up?" Basically, I send a text that's like, "Hey, I'm good. How are you?" That's it. No assumption of, "Hey, let's get together." No assumption of anything else. Matching the energy and attracting that person to me. So all of this came about after the fact. So at the time of this session, I didn't really know any of this. So I really had to dive into my meditations and connect with my guides and see what the message actually was. And then I eventually got the message. That gives you a little bit of context as to what was going on there. And I do talk a little bit more about these other sort of supernatural things that do happen to me from time to time. Okay, without further ado, here is the session.
In the beginning, you were like, I think you should get both of them. And I was like, I don't want to do that to Roundy. I don't want her to feel like displaced. But when I met the mom, I was like, why does she feel like my cat? So, but they were doing exactly what the cats in your video were doing. Like she was on the back of the couch and he was like, do, 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 do. And I was like, whoa. And
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
In your video, we're all both black. And I was like, what is happening right now? I was like, am I seeing my own video? Like, what?
Oh my
gosh. Looking around, like, this is so trippy.
That's adorable. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are we talking about today?
Oh, I just wanted to kind of dive into the whole, doing the fear week. I was like, wow, I thought I've been working so hard on these things, but I kind of knew that it was also there. It was really interesting because I wasn't going to sign up for the workshop because Roundy I finally had to say goodbye to her on Halloween. And then I asked for guidance and I'm like, you guys tell me if I'm supposed to do this. Like, I might not be okay enough to do this,
Yeah.
And then Thomas was like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And I was like, send me a sign then that I should do this. And then you posted what day the pre-registration was. And it was Thomas's birthday. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm supposed to do this.
Oh,
I know, it was cute, but I'm so glad I'm doing it. It's really fun. It's very cool to get so many, I'm getting affirmations in like real time, but like in the weirdest ways of like information I'm getting. And it's just cool to hear that everybody has the same, like everybody puts so much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
And they get so worried that, oh my God, I'm not going to get anything.
Yeah.
And I think we all do that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad you're with us.
Yeah, it's super fun.
So I'm glad that you're getting all of the affirmations and all of the little synchronicities to tell you're doing it well.
They're like, you're getting stuff. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of wanted to dive into the whole losing Roundy it was very different than losing anybody. And part of me is like, okay, I still want to know what the hell happened. Like, I really don't know. And then I'm like, or am I not supposed to know? But it was such a different experience of like Thomas and Boo died so unexpectedly. It was just like, bam, gone. And with Roundy, like she started getting sick, but the vets were like, we think she has IBD and we think this, change her food, change this. And like nothing was working. And she just was getting worse and worse. And I kept asking you guys, like, just tell me what's going on. Is this end of life? And I kept getting the word palliative, which I didn't know. So I had to look up and I realized, oh, that's end of life care. Okay. And like, my mom and my sister are like, she's not. When I was like going to the vets and like doing lasers. And it was so, my nervous system was completely just shut down.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know more about what you dove into because I kind of tried to read it myself after, and I did see like a scene of me kind of sheltering two kids, and the words that came to me are like, you have to do this perfectly or someone's going to die. So it's like we were hiding from something, or I couldn't tell where it was. People used to take over villages, but I was like trying to protect these two children. So I was like, okay, maybe this is obviously what this wound is from. But I also think it's really weird that her and Roundy and Boo both died at exactly 14 years and 1 month old. Like how, what? And I didn't realize that until very recently. And I was like, Jesus, there's something more to this than I know.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I want to know. And then, cause like, I'm like, was it cancer? And I just didn't know she was even sick.
The thing is that like, when I found out that that's how Lucius died, after the fact. I don't know if I told you that, but yeah, I found out that he ended up having lung cancer
Oh my God. Wow.
which is super bizarre because how? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, how could, like, the only thing I could think of was like the pollution in Paris or something. Like, I didn't know, but my vet basically said it just happens sometimes. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. Like, I don't know if that's a good enough answer for me. One of the things that I would like to explore here is, first of all, why that specific time? And you didn't actually find out what ended up being the cause of death, right?
No, I mean, they were like IBD, this, that. And basically, it was like gastrointestinal issues. And then we could shave her, do an ultrasound.
Hold on. Echo, stop.
Oh my God.
Echo, stop. Hold on. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't know what's happening right now.
They wanted to tell us something.
Oh my God, that's really loud. All right, hold on. Huh. Well, that's interesting.
I was going to say, that's very interesting.
Huh.
Roundy. Well, Thomas does that to me. He'll turn on Alexa and play a song for me sometimes. And it usually makes sense to me, but.
All right. Well, first of all, the song was You Look Perfect Tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's Ed Sheeran, Perfect.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I don't know the song, but you have an Ed Sheeran connection. I did hear you talk about that.
I do, and that's weird.
Yeah.
And that's super interesting that, first of all, there's a reason why I don't have Alexas in my house. So
right.
But like this was deliberate because what turned on was the Bose speaker underneath the television that isn't even controlled by the Alexa thing.
Yeah.
So, and I have not ever had the TV sound up that loud, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually happened to me before where it'll be on, but it'll just turn it up on its own and go all the way at full volume. And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to pay attention to something. That hasn't happened to me in a long time, but.
That's interesting because, so for me, my guides will turn off the TV. So like if I'm watching TV, they'll turn it off. That's how they get my attention to let me know that they need to say something. All right.
I wonder what that was about. No.
Okay. Well,
to be revealed.
We're going to tap in and find out. But I mean, like, it doesn't necessarily help with train of thought. That's for sure. So I don't remember what we were talking about or what we were saying.
Oh, you just asked, did I find out what it actually was? I didn't. And at the end, she was just so sick. And I had spoken to Sue Burnett, actually, because I was like, I don't know what's going on with her. And she was like, it feels viral to me.
Okay.
And Roundy's just telling me she feels like she has an awful flu. And it's weird because after she died, like a month after, I got bird flu, but I don't think that's what she died of. I think she might have gotten sick, but then it was cancer, but the cancer was underlying. And then it just, whatever happened, pushed her over the edge. And maybe she had cancer for a long time. But I don't know if it was like GI cancer. They say it's very common, or stomach cancer or what. But at the very end, it's like I was giving her steroids and just hoping for the best. And none of it went how she had asked me for it to go either. Like I knew if I had to help her transition, which she wanted me to help her, she wanted to do it at home. And I was like, okay. And then the night of Halloween, she threw up bile. I mean, she was in and out of the box every 4 seconds, like trying to go to the bathroom, couldn't go to the bathroom. And she threw up bile like the size of like a basketball.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I can't let her go through even one more night of this. And I had the appointment for the next morning, but I'm like, I can't let her suffer anymore,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And so like, I was like, I just felt like I was just being tested because I'm like trying to do all the right things, but it's like everything I did, I was questioning, like, am I doing enough, or were these the right things? Could I have actually helped her like get better, or was there no getting better? And so it just left me feeling like, I don't know. It's not like, I know I can't save everyone. So it wasn't that. It was like, but if I would have known that she was dying, even though they did say palliative to me, I just feel like I would have treated it a little different. Like I wouldn't have gotten up in the middle of the night every time she was sick and like shoved a pill down her throat. I would have just been like, it's okay, honey. I get it. Like it's the end of life.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to do what the vet said and like, so it was like steroids and then anti-diarrhea medicine and anti-vomiting medicine. I mean, it was like, wow. And the poor thing at the end, like, she didn't want to come near me because she was afraid I was going to shove something down her throat. And it's like, that's no way to live.
Yeah.
So I felt like an awful mother, basically.
Yeah. Do we need to dive into the records for this? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's take a look at what's going on with that and then see what the angels have to say about it. Okay. I want to ask Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael, Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon for creating this beautiful space around us, keeping any lower negative energies out. Thank you, Akula, my Akashic Guide, for allowing us access to the records today. Today, we are opening up the Akashic Records. Great, thank you. It's interesting. Roundy has come up in your lifetimes, like every several lifetimes. It's like, and I'm hearing the words like clockwork. There's a very particular thing that Roundy does for you. She has the ability to help you. She helps you with your fears, actually. She helps you with moving forward in new energy. She helps you usher in that new energy. She's a support. What's interesting is it's like so when you are about to go through some sort of transition and like there would be something there that would be really nice to, the best way that I can describe it is like lubricate the situation to smooth it out. Okay. And that's what Roundy has been for you. So she was there to help smooth this transition with Boo, with Thomas. It's a really interesting way that they're showing this to me. Like, what kind of soul is that? Like, what is the purpose of that soul? And is Roundy still connected to like the collective soul of cats, or what's the deal? Cats, yes, but she still is her own individual soul. Okay. And she has yet to be human. They're saying that the way that she died is not important. It was that she needed to go at that time. So they're saying don't feel like a bad mom, because everything that you did, like all of the pills, all of the everything, that it was essentially, those were all for you. Like none of those things would have actually worked. But it helped you to try to do something to help you feel like you tried everything. But there was literally nothing you could have done because she needed to go. Is there a reason why she needed to go at that time? There was a particular energetic gateway at the time that was beneficial for her to go through. Okay. There are times when certain gateways are beneficial for people and pets and all kinds of souls to cross through. It's not that other gateways aren't beneficial. It's just that some gateways are more aligned with your soul's energy and it makes things slightly easier. Okay. So it's easier for a transition. Yes. Okay. Was there a reason for the 14 years and 1 month? No. I'm like, yeah, but angels, there are no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. They're like, nope, there are coincidences sometimes. Cool.
Seems so.
Is there a reason why Roundy only comes every several lifetimes as opposed to all the time? Roundy has gotten very good at doing this particular job. It's why this particular soul has not incarnated in other ways. There are very few times when she's not a cat. And so she's very adept at what she does. And so she does this and helps other people do the same. She's very adept at sort of lubricating those transition phases. So it's basically because she's got other jobs to do. That's why she doesn't incarnate all the time. Correct. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly what she did. Even through, the transition of Boo, but then like she stayed when Boo came as a kitten. And I just recently, like a week ago, asked her, I was like, okay, can you just tell me? And it was similar information that just, listen, it was just, that was when I was supposed to go. And I was like, okay, but like, can you tell me what it was? And she's like, it doesn't matter. It was just time. And I'm like, it's so hard to let go of that. Just be like, okay, I guess I'll never know what was going on with her.
Yeah.
I guess my question, like to myself, was, did I not give her enough time to see if she could get better? Like, could she have actually gotten better? And I don't think she could have. So it was, and then she was like, it was just my time, I fulfilled my purpose, basically.
She has other people to get to tend to, right?
Mm.
So oh, and I'm getting chills right now. Once she fulfills her purpose, then that's when she has to go. So it's not necessarily an exact time frame, but it's like the gateway was open. She could cross over at that time because her job had been complete. And so she had to go. She's saying like you could have asked her to stay, but she wouldn't have anyway because she like what she does is so vital to so many people that like her just hanging out with you, it's not that she wouldn't enjoy it. It's just that it wouldn't serve the purpose anymore. And I'm just getting that she really, really enjoys it. She really enjoys helping people through this. She likes being that spark of joy in people's lives.
That's cute.
And that's okay. And she said that it doesn't matter. Like if she would have stuck around another month or another 3 months or 4 months, it wouldn't have made a difference because either way, you were going to be grieving her. Right. So staying the extra couple of months or whatever, even if she had decided to, it would just be prolonging the inevitable. And that's what she's saying. Like, even if she were to have decided to stay, it would have been months, not years.
Which I wouldn't have wanted for her anyway, because she didn't have a good quality of life.
Right.
I think that was the main thing I thought after. I was like, God, she was with me for everything. Like every single thing, including all of my stuff when Boo, like when he was young and got sick. And then when he ended up getting hyperthyroid and like all the stuff with Thomas. And so losing her was different than Boo, obviously. But it was like, wow, but she's the one that was my rock, like through everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to lose that because it feels like you're floating now. Like it feels like you don't have that anchor anymore. If you can look at it from this perspective, it's actually a good thing because imagine that she's almost taking all of that past with her. She's taking all of those difficulties, all of those hard times that she helped ease for you. She's taking those with her. She's saying that she loves you and she will be back at a certain point. Won't be in this lifetime, but at another point in time, she probably will. You're on her rotation. Like she has a set number of souls that she works with. And so you're obviously one of them. So yeah.
Roundy. I know I did ask her after she left, and because she was there really quick. Like I could feel her that night and that next day. And I'm like, will you come back? Is that what you want to do? And she was like, we'll see. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, you're busy now with the boy. Little Obi.
Little Obi. How is Obi doing?
He's good. He's now adjusted to his mom coming. That was interesting. I think it's really good that she's here because I think they've realized about a week in, I think they knew that they were related, even though everyone was like, they won't know each other. I'm like, I think they will. So I think they get it now. She was between 5 foster homes and no one wanted to take her. And I was like, she really was my cat. It just wasn't the right time yet. And she's only been here like 2 months, I think. But he's mellowed out since she's here because she's teaching him what not to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. She's taking on the mom role.
Yeah, which Roundy was like, I'm not doing that shit.
Roundy's like, that's not my job. My job is not being a mom.
Yep. Yeah, she was not having it. But of course, there's a part of me that's like, oh, did she get sick because he came? But it was like, but she was supposed to see me through that. And yeah, she was really cute. She did have there was a bunch of months in there when she was playing like a kitten. And that's why it was so sudden, because all of a sudden, like, she was sick. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You were just like chasing lasers and running around the house. And so I don't know if like it was just her last go or She was like, oh, I've never gotten to play with these kitten toys before. What's going on here?
She's saying that she just wanted to take her body for like a last spin kind of thing. Like it was just kind of like, being able to run around and chase things and just kind of be in the body. And to sort of be in the body, that was definitely something that she likes doing. She likes being incarnated, actually. She likes having the physical cat body. She likes how she likes how agile it is. Is the reason why you called her Roundy, was she actually round?
Yeah, when she was very little, she was super sick, and I rescued them, her and her sisters. And her face was really round, and she always laid her head down because she was sick. Okay. And so I called her Round Ball, which is a translation from that really famous Japanese cat. He's was the first Instagram cat, and his name is Maru. And I looked it up, and it translates to round ball. So I called her Round Ball because I didn't want to take his name, but it turned into Roundy.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
Yeah, and she was really round when she was younger. And as she got older, she wasn't so round. And she wasn't round at all at the end. I was like, oh my God, what happened to you?
Yeah. We don't see what we don't want to see, especially when it is a beloved pet. Other cats and other pets know when the other pet is going to go. We are usually the last to notice. It's something that you can look back on and say, oh yeah, I could see. But during the moment, especially because they're in our lives all day, every day, you don't notice. Or you don't want to notice, one of the two, right?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, I think it was right before Obi came, I noticed she had started to get gray fur on her neck, on her back. And I was like, And so when he came, I ended up taking her to the vet just to get a wellness check. And because she was, however old she was 14 or almost 14. She was 14 at that point. Anyway, but yeah, so I took her in, and I mean, they're like, she's great. They're like, her levels are amazing. Every single organ is functioning. And I asked, I said, well, what's the deal with this gray hair coming in? And they're like, oh, she's just getting old. And so I literally, it's like, I did know something, that she was
something
aging.
Was off.
Yeah. And I think I just figured, oh, this is all your fear from losing Boo, and you're just projecting it on her now. And so when the doctor told me she was fine, I was like, great. And I just didn't think of it. I was like, fine, she's great. She's healthy. Yeah. So for whatever reason, I wasn't supposed to really think anything was wrong with her. And that was kind of concerning when I went back, and I'm like, well, why is she so sick then? I was just here.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, cancer doesn't show up on labs. And I'm like, huh? What? How is it not?
That's a really big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Okay. So what did I pay all that money to do the blood work for?
Right.
I guess just to find out if she had a thyroid issue or a kidney disease. Okay.
Right.
But she'd started losing weight. And that's why I was like, what's going on here? So, I mean, I think it was cancer in the end.
Sure.
An underlying thing, and then maybe something, or it just escalated really fast. I don't know.
I'm hearing 6 months. So prior to when she died, it was like 6 months of time that she was ill, if you will. Obviously, you didn't start seeing the signs of it until much later, but that's the amount of time. I want to dive into this lifetime that you're talking about, the kids, the vision that you had. Akula, is this a past life that she was having a vision of? Yes. Is this a past life that we need to look at? Yes. All right, let's take a look at that lifetime, please. Okay, so the first thing that I'm seeing is you're fighting. It looks sort of like some form of a martial art, and it's with your feet. I don't know if I can describe this well. So basically you're turning and kicking your foot out, but not super high. It's almost like just maybe a foot off the ground. You're kicking your foot, and it's you're kicking with the side of your foot, and then you're pivoting and kicking with the other side of the other foot, and you're pushing the person back, and you're kicking I'm hearing your training of some sort. It's like some sort of training. It was a practice. Okay. The practice was not meant for self-defense or any sort of combat. It was simply a practice. Okay. They're saying at the time only men trained in combat. This was more just part of they're just saying like life training. I'm hearing Mongol. Okay. So then what other information do you need to give us? They're actually saying they don't need to give us any other information. Like, the rest, like you saw it in your vision. So the reason why they wanted me to show you that you were doing this sort of martial art is that you did have the ability to defend yourself if you needed to, but you were having a little bit of a crisis in belief system, because as you're sitting there trying to protect these children, you realize that the type of sort of practice that you had been doing would do nothing against spears. It would be completely useless against knives or spears or anything that is, harmful in that way. And it was in that moment that you felt really, really helpless.
Yeah.
Prior to that, you had felt very empowered, because this practice that you were doing was teaching you self-confidence and teaching you how to trust and believe that you have this power within you. And you had been brought up to believe that you have this power within you. And essentially there was an invading army coming in. That's essentially what happened.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
And this invading army came in with spears and knives and all kinds of things. And you're like, how is it that I am completely vulnerable right now? I don't even know if I can protect these kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so did she have a husband at the time? No. Were these her kids? Yes. Had her husband died? Yes. Was she alone in the place where she was living? No. Her father was there, but in another part of the house. She had 2 brothers. They were out fighting. Your father was trying to defend the house. So at least your father was there, but like your father was rather old and kind of feeble. So like he really wasn't going to be able to do much.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what ended up happening? Whoever the soldiers were came in and killed your father, came in, killed you and the kids.
Yeah. That's what I got to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like the feeling I get when in that vision is like, I'm literally like, I'm not breathing, and I'm telling the children not to breathe, because I'm like, if you breathe, they'll know where you are, basically. Right. And it's like the same feeling I was getting the whole time Roundy was sick, where I was like, I wasn't even breathing or eating, or I was just like, if you stay really still, maybe this won't get you, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, and what was hard is that what I saw was the soldier grabbed one of the kids first, ran the child through with a spear, and then grabbed the other kid and did that to the kid. And then, so you were the last to die.
I was last. Yeah.
Yeah. That was super traumatic for you to witness your children's death. Mm-hmm. So what is the reason, angels, that she got that vision? It is something that she does need to work on, and she needed to know the origin point of, because she has been holding her breath for quite a while. She has been holding her breath in order to prevent anything from happening, anything bad from happening. And we want her to breathe again. We want her to be able to enjoy life, smell the flowers, see the beauty in life, and not have to worry about when is the other shoe going to drop. There are so many fears that you have, and they are stemming from various experiences that you've had over the lifetimes that you've had. This particular fear was one of the biggest, which is a failure to protect, a failure to not only protect your children, but yourself, feeling helpless, feeling like something is completely out of your hands and out of control. So how do we help her to move through that then? First, she has to understand that the death that happened in that previous life, the death of her children, the death of her, were all things that she had signed up for. She knew they were going to happen. There were a lot of different types of deaths that she's had that she has also signed up for. And understanding that death comes for all in the human body. It is a matter of what you have signed up for in this lifetime. And of course, we have said in the past, and we've reiterated as well, that There are times when people will exit early, or in a case of a wrong place, wrong time, their lives can be extinguished early. But the vast majority of the experiences are experiences that we signed up for. So the taking responsibility of certain deaths is not for you to take responsibility for. Those children in that past life also signed up for that particular death. They had something to gain from that experience. Had they wanted to have a different experience, they would not have incarnated as your children in that particular lifetime. All three of you knew what you were signing up for in that lifetime. And in fact, things got significantly worse where you lived. So it was almost a blessing that it was a quick death. Do you have any questions about that?
No, it all really makes sense and ties into just the little messages I've been getting here and there. And even into the experience of Roundy and the way she went, and was like, so I would literally get up in the middle of the night when I would hear her and she'd be sick. And I would be like, okay, if this is it, like, just let her go with quick death, swift, graceful. Like, I can't have her suffering anymore. And so that part even resonates for me.
Yeah.
And the other message I keep getting is like, it's so interesting because I got confirmation, but it was like this huge download I got, and I wrote it down. And the end of it was like, stop waiting for the shoe to drop. It's time to expect the joyfully unexpected. And I got in the car and I'm listening to something, and it switched to your podcast. It went straight to an episode I've never heard. and it starts playing the one where you were talking to someone about exactly that. And I was like, okay, so I think I'm supposed to start expecting good things instead of expecting the bad. It's just hard to know how to retrain yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes time and it takes effort to retrain yourself. Like, it's not easy, even with just small things, right? Like, just small things that you retrain your brain about. Recently, I was dealing with some more administrative type crap that I just don't like dealing with, and I got really frustrated this morning, and I was like, why is it that I always have to deal with this? And I had to stop myself because I was like, I need to stop saying that, I need to stop saying, why do I always have to deal with this? Because it's something that perpetuates that energy, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was perpetuating the energy of like stupid things going wrong. Like, basically, like, my phone service turned off. And so I had to call the phone company and say, like, why did you shut it off? And they were like, oh, we don't know why that happened. It's because you're traveling and it was just like, it's this whole thing of like, this is completely unnecessary. And it's just basically a burden and an annoyance that I have to deal with. Right.
Yeah.
So when you have those types of experiences, then the next one comes, it reiterates that feeling. And then the next one you have, it reiterates that feeling. And so it's further anchoring in that energy. It's like digging it in with a stake in the ground. And it's like, okay, how do I get out of that energy in order for this like cyclical thing to stop? Well, you have to first start to accept what is. So what did I do to accept what is in this moment? I basically bought an eSIM so I could use my phone here in Puerto Rico, and my French number, whatever, I'll deal with it when I have to deal with it, when I have time to call the company and get them to do whatever they need to do to turn it back on. In the meantime, I'm still getting the information that I need. I'm still doing what I need to do, and I'm able to move forward, and I'm not frustrated. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see like how that example just kind of like, it switches the way that you think about it, because it's no longer a burden. I found a solution to the problem. It's not a permanent solution. It's a temporary solution, but I'm not going to sit here and be annoyed by it all day.
Yeah.
So then once you're able to find the solution, or find a temporary solution, or find a way to get out of that energy, now it's about giving it to the universe, giving it to your angels and saying, thank you, angels, for finding a perfect solution for this problem, and imagining that there is that solution for the problem. Okay. Imagine that your angels are coming up with the absolute perfect solution, and that you know that solution is going to drop into your lap when it's time. And then you just have to ask your angels, like, is there any action I need to take now?
I feel like sometimes the fear stuff sometimes it's difficult to work through some fear. Like there's no clear answer for some of my fears. And like, that's one of them where I'm like, I don't know the answer to this and why they keep coming. But I mean, It's just life.
I've been exploring a lot of this recently in terms of the course that we're doing and, kind of addressing that, because that is, since that was the week that we covered the fears. There are various different things that we need to work through, like we need to move through those particular fears. There are some fears that are deep rooted, some of them like this fear that you had that you're not powerful and that you won't be able to defend yourself, those kinds of things. So that was deep rooted in that previous lifetime. Whereas like a fear of spiders, it can be from a past life, but my guides are saying to me right now that it's not from a past life for you. It is something that is what I guess we would call an irrational fear. And so that has to do with our human instincts. Think about a fear of heights, a fear of falling, fear of enclosed spaces, a fear, like all of these different fears that are almost collective fears that are very common with a lot of different people. Spiders are one of those, right?
Yeah.
And it has to do with our ancestral line, or it has to do with our lineage in terms of what our ancestors dealt with and what we dealt with. And it's our human instinct to want to survive. And so there are certain fears that pop up that are just fears that humans may have. So maybe you lived somewhere that spiders were a big deal. At some point, okay, maybe that could be like an ancestral line thing or a past life thing.
Yeah. I've asked a ton of questions and gotten tons of interesting things that could have happened. Like, but it's not like the origination is even like the actual spider itself. It's like tied to other stuff, I think. But yes, I think you're right. It is ancestral, of course. I think a lot of people are afraid of them.
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. Some people aren't. I don't know. Those people are lucky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say that I'm one of those people, but like if it gets bigger than a particular size, then I don't like it. But like normal everyday like house spiders, I'm usually fine with. So the thing is though, is that like, but my fears lie in like fear of heights, fear of falling. That's where my fears lie. Well, some of my fears are from a past life. And when I found out about the past life, did it make my fear of falling any better? No, it did not.
Yeah.
So the thing is that what I find is that you have to uncover those layers. So I uncovered that layer. Okay. Now, the next layer that I uncovered is the fact that, okay, so whenever I'm on a plane, I get scared sometimes because I don't like turbulence and because I don't like heights. That has to do with the past life. Yes, because it was a plane related for me in the past life. It also has to do with control. It has to do with not having control and not being able to stop something that could be happening to you that you don't want to have happen to you. And if you have a whole bunch of people on a plane that have a collective fear of heights or flying, that is going to be amplified. So you also have to consider the amount of people that are hanging out in that space. Are you all experiencing the same thing? And is this fear being amplified by the collective? So your fear of spiders, is it being amplified by the collective fear of spiders? That's another thing, right? One of the biggest ways to get over the fear is by exposure. There was a woman who was really popular on TikTok a long time ago, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, who had a fear of spiders, and she decided that she was going to have little jumping spiders as pets. And she gave them little voices and little names and like had all these little videos on TikTok, and she completely went viral because they were so cute. And so God, like hilarious. That's how she got through her fear of spiders.
Wow.
So it's something that you have to kind of work through by little. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no surprise that the apartment that I manifested in Paris is on the 11th floor. And I was like, angels, really? You really had to give me that. Like, and they're like, yes, because you had to get over this. You had to be able to work through this fear, because the fear does lower your vibration, certainly, but irrational fears lower your vibration needlessly. This sort of collective fears or the irrational fears, those are things that, it's not to say that they're not important, but they are also not entirely yours.
Yeah.
Okay?
I was definitely put at this house then for a reason, because it's been a constant. They're just, I mean, I've really tried to secure the house, but I mean, they get in, there's trees everywhere. It is what it is in California. Yeah. So I think I've thought about it, and I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be here for a reason to work through this. And I feel like I'm getting there, but you know, Obi, he's gotten sick a couple times, and I honestly think it's from eating spiders. Or it was totally unrelated. And it was, I mean, who knows? It was like, actually, he got sick again right after Roundy died. And it was like a week after. And then he had the runs really bad. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? So, but it was just another one of those, let's just hit you with a little more fear and show you that he can actually get better.
Yeah, totally.
Because I was worried. I was like, oh, he's going to die too? Like, what's going on here? Like,
I see.
Because it was the same way, because it was his GI. But he did get better.
I'm trying to take a look at what is the trajectory or reason for all of that, if there is one. I want to kind of connect to Boo to see if, well, Boo meaning the soul as opposed to just Obi. Oh, okay. He's saying he's fine. It's nothing, and not to worry, and stop equating what happened to Roundy to that being him being sick. They're not related, and you did not manifest it. That's super interesting. I'm hearing you say, I need to take responsibility for something. It's almost as if you're saying, I can't not be responsible for anything. I have to be responsible for something. So what can I take responsibility for?
It makes sense in this lifetime and probably a lot of my other ones. But I'm always the responsible one. Even when I was a kid, I had to be my parents weren't getting along, but I was kind of a mom to her, and I just turned into the one that was responsible.
What's interesting is that you have this incredible gift. You have Boo, you have Thomas, you have all of these people on the other side helping you that are communicating with you. We have extremely loud sound bars that are activating on their own. Yes. Which I will ask about that in a second. I want to find out if that was regarding you or not. You feel like you have to do everything on your own. And it's almost like all of your guides on the other side are screaming you're not alone. We're here to help you.
Yeah.
Don't try to do everything by yourself, because you don't have to. So a lot of what you're learning is the lesson of letting go and understanding that you can trust the flow of your life.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to step into. Trusting the flow of your life and not wanting to take action all the time. It's a tough thing not to do.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense for me.
Guardian angels, everybody who's supporting her right now, can you please give us an idea of what is it that she can do to help to let go of that fear, that control, let go of the burden of feeling like she has to protect, take care of, prevent bad things from happening. She has an incredible ability to help others. This is where a lot of this comes from, because she is very capable and she is very connected. The problem that she has most of the time is the fear. She wouldn't do the things that she does most of the time if it weren't for the fears. So the thing that we would recommend that she do is to ask herself, am I making this decision out of fear or out of love? Am I doing this particular thing out of fear or out of love? Am I feeling a particular way? Is this fear? Is this preventing me from doing something? If you are in the space of love, it is nearly impossible to not be in the flow of your life. If you're in the space of love, it doesn't mean that you don't take action when guided, but the action that you take will feel guided. It will not feel like you are trying to prevent something from happening, or that you are trying to move through something, or that you are trying to make sure that someone is safe. That is why we call it guided action. I mean, it sounds like a simple task, if you will. Just asking, am I doing this out of fear or out of love? The question is, when you are in fear, what do you do then? We suggest that when you realize that you're in fear, you take a step back and not make any decisions until you are able to get out of that fear, even if it is temporarily. Okay. Meditation can help. Going into the records can help, although it depends on how much fear you have. Because if it's just a general low-lying fear that you can kind of move out of in your meditation, then that's fine. But if it's something that's almost crippling, it's not the time to tap in. That's when I would suggest like reaching out to somebody to help you get out of it.
Yeah, luckily I'm past the big stuff. I've been, you know, we're on the other side of it. For a while there, it was bad.
Yeah. What was the whole soundbar, hugely loud music about? That is a message for you. Oh.
Of course, it was Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, but why do it in the middle of a session?
It's interesting.
Because I was paying attention. Oh, because I was connected in, and had they done it while I was not on the phone with somebody, it would have freaked me out. Okay, cool. Talk about fears. That's so funny. Because they awesome. They know, because when they turn off the TV for me. So it used to be lights that they used to turn lights off. And that freaked me out. And I was like, guys, you can't do that. That freaks me out. Like basically they're left with the television, so they can turn off my television and I'll listen. And that doesn't freak me out as much for whatever reason. Super, super funny. So I think it's hilarious that we're sitting here talking about fears and my guides are actually like showing me some of mine as well. So
yeah, that's funny. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have any other questions that you would like to have answered?
Does Boo want to say anything about Obi?
Oh my gosh, he's much more comfortable now.
Yeah.
Because I remember I think the last time we checked in with him, he was half in and half out of the cat body. Because he couldn't handle the energy of the kitten. It was like too frenetic.
Yeah.
And he's like, now he's like, yeah, it fits much better.
Yeah.
It's feeling much better for him.
Oh, good.
He's really excited to start working with you in the records, though.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's having to sort of get himself prepared. Oh, that's cute. You know, when somebody's getting ready for like the first day at the job kind of thing, that's kind of what he's doing, but like in a little joking manner. He's not saying that it's not like it's his first day on the job, but he's like, this will be the first official time you're actually like going to be going into the records and doing the thing. And so like, he's like, yeah, I have to show up for my job, you know, like it's very cute.
I love it.
Oh, I love it. That's cool. Adorable. Yeah.
I'm very excited to try that. Yeah. Because the only things I've seen, it's like, I don't think I've even known I've been in. I've just gotten flashes of images, but it's just very different than how I usually get messages. So
he's saying that it's not something to worry about. Like, don't worry about, well, he's saying half the things that you worry about, but don't worry about the things that you are going to connect into. Like, he's going to help you with them.
Cool.
There seems to be just like a slight fear of overwhelm. Is this pertaining to like going into the records? Yes. Okay. Oh, I see. They're showing me the vision that you had about you and the kids. And they're saying that like the slight fear that you have is that you're going to be overwhelmed by the emotions that are going on in the records, similar to what you felt there. And he's saying not to worry. How do I describe this? It helps to, when you're seeing things like that, to almost like zoom out. So like my dominant clair is clairsentient. So that is the clear feeling. And so when I'm in the records, that is actually my least dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it is by choice because I don't want to feel everything that's in the records. I mean, that would be really overwhelming. It would be really a lot.
Yeah.
But if I am able to just see it or know it,
Mm-hmm.
it's much, much easier for me. So
Yeah.
like
It gives distance.
like I didn't see the gory details of your death in the kids. I
Mhm.
just had sort of this knowing that the kids were run through with a sword, one first, second, then you. Like it was just like a knowing.
Mhm.
And so I didn't have to feel the emotion of that, or and I didn't have to experience it. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I said that I knew that you felt powerless and helpless, it wasn't because I myself am feeling that feeling of powerlessness and helplessness. It's that I just know that that's how you were feeling. So that comes in my claircognizance. Okay. Basically, you can work with Boo with how the messages are going to come in that are going to be the easiest for you to see or hear or feel or know.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want to feel all of that. I mean, when you're trying to read into your own stuff, a lot of it is feeling for me.
Yeah.
And so that's different. But if you're going to actually try to read somebody else, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that it is, I think when you're reading for yourself, it is a little harder to sort of separate yourself from that emotion because you are going to feel that. But even then, like when I've seen lifetimes where I've died, like I don't feel what it felt like to die in that lifetime. That even then I'm just like, it's just kind of a knowing.
It makes sense. I was more emotional, like connecting into Roundy than I was hearing about that. And I don't know if it's because I've already seen the vision or I was just like, yeah, I know we all died. Like,
yeah.
Because that makes sense because that's why I felt like this in this life.
All right. So I am going to close the Akashic Records. Thank you so much to Akula, my Akashic Guide. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Archangel Metatron, Archangel Sandalphon. Thank you to Boo and Thomas and everyone else. The records are closed. The records are closed. The records are closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you so much, my dear. And then I will see you on Monday.
Okay. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
And a big thanks to Celeste for participating in the podcast for this particular session. I feel like it's worth mentioning that as we were recording this session, we were in the middle of Soul Discovery Workshop, and Celeste was a member of Soul Discovery Workshop. So we were already working together weekly on a lot of these up levels for her spiritual gifts. So as we talk about her accessing the records and things like that, it is because we were already working together through the course. We talk a lot about fears and we talk a lot about letting go and not having control and being able to be in a space of allowing in this session. And it really does tie into what we were connecting to in the course. I think we had just finished the week about fears. If not, it had been within a couple of weeks of this session. So that's why a lot of this information was pretty fresh for Celeste. One of the messages my guides want me to convey to you at this time is the idea or notion that we can do more, be more, make better decisions for a loved one or a pet that is on the verge of crossing over. I've been through it myself, where when I lost Lucius, I was wondering, should I have taken him to the vet? Because in fact, my guides were telling me not to take him to the vet that day. And he was pretty sick. So not taking him to the vet didn't make sense to me. But I understand now why they were saying for me not to take him to the vet, because the vet ended up putting him under and taking some fluid from his lungs to test it. And that is what put him into respiratory distress, which ended up killing him. Now, is it the veterinarian's fault for doing that? No, because we didn't know what was going on with him. We were trying to figure out what was causing the health issues. So I have really beat myself up over that over the course of time, where I've been like, I should have listened to my intuition. My intuition was telling me not to go, and I still went. The problem is I didn't need to beat myself up over that, because after the fact, I have checked in with Lucius and I've checked in with my guides, and they've all said that it really wouldn't have made a huge difference. It would have been weeks, if that he would have lived. So I would have had a couple more weeks with him, maybe a few more weeks with him before he died. Now, would it have been a peaceful death had I waited? Probably not, because of what he was suffering with. It likely would have ended with him being in the vet or in the incubator that he was in towards the end. The challenge is, did I make the right decision? Did I make the right decision for him? The one thing that really just kills me inside is that when I took him to the emergency, they put him in an incubator and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to him. So he ended up crossing over later on that night and I wasn't there. But it was quick. I knew that he was in respiratory distress. When I took him to the emergency vet, they immediately put him in an incubator, which basically states that he was not doing well. And essentially, when he did die, it was only a few hours after I had dropped him off. I was able to see him the next day, but I was really, really distraught. I was incredibly distraught because I thought that maybe I did the wrong thing. What could I have done differently? Could I have shown up differently for him? At one point, when we were at my house after we came back from the first vet visit that same day, he went under my bed and he was hyperventilating. And I had the feeling, because most pets will hide when they're getting ready to die. And I had a feeling that he was hiding under my bed because he was getting ready to die. And I pulled him out from underneath the bed and put him in the cat carrier and drove him to the emergency vet, which took an hour. Like all of these things came together, and every step of the way, I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, am I doing the right thing? And even after the fact, going over it again, did I do the right thing? So I'm bringing all of this up. It's interesting because it is releasing some emotion in me right now. And it's been over a year since this happened. The challenge is knowing, did I do the right thing? And the best we can do is check in with them, check in with their soul after the fact, check in with your guides and ask them, what is it that I could have done? And my guides are telling me right now, you could not have done anything differently. It unfolded the way that it needed to unfold. Now, could it have unfolded differently? Yes. But the basic premise of what happened was still going to happen regardless. The little individual steps don't actually make that big of a difference. He was going to be suffering in whichever way he was going to suffer right before he crossed over from this kitty body. So it can be difficult to forgive yourself, to say to yourself that you did everything that you could, that maybe if you did make a mistake, to forgive yourself for that. When I look back on it, what I could have done potentially is to take a deep breath and take a moment to get into a clear state of mind and ask my guides what I could have done at that time. When I think about the alternative, had I not taken him to the emergency vet, I would have probably sat here with him at my house with him hyperventilating for the next 5 to 6 hours and not being able to breathe. When I think about that, I feel like it was the right decision because he was able to be in an incubator. They gave him some medicine to make him more comfortable, things like that. Okay. When it comes to your loved ones, your human loved ones and your pet loved ones, you cannot control the way in which they cross over, the way in which they die from this mortal body. You have to allow them to go through the process that they need to go through. Can you make their transition easier? Most certainly. Just being present and having your energy there can sometimes be enough, but don't feel like you have to control every step of the way. Don't feel like it is your responsibility to make every right decision. Think about what it feels like when you are losing someone. There is that feeling of wanting to grasp, wanting to hold on, wanting to make sure that you can take as much of that time that you have left with that person or that pet as much as possible. And sometimes that is within your control and sometimes it's not. So as with most things, we recommend that you connect to that soul. We recommend that you connect to your heart and understand where you are emotionally and why you're making the decisions that you are, why you feel like things need to go a certain way. Is it because it will make you feel better? Or is it because it will make your loved one feel better or feel more comfortable? Sometimes it can be both, and that is okay. Oftentimes, if you have a loved one that is about to cross over, you have directives, medical directives, whether the person wants to be resuscitated, whether the person wants to be on pain medication, whether they want to be able to move forward. And the one thing that we can say to you is you have very little say in how that unfolds. That is up to the soul and the body of the person that is going through it. If they need to stay or if they want to stay, they will. If they do not want to stay or if they're signed up to go at a certain time, they will leave. The amount of time humans spend on regret and fear and guilt and shame over how they handled the death of a loved one or the death of a pet is immense. And we are recommending for you to let it go. You can hear it in Annette's voice as she was describing what had happened to Lucius a year and a half ago. She is still holding on to some of that grief and some of that pain over feeling guilty that she didn't do the right thing, that she didn't listen to her intuition. And we are here to say that that energy needs to be dissipated. The energy needs to be moved through and integrated, understanding that it happened the way that it happened, and it cannot happen any other way. Okay. So then how do you recommend that we move forward to forgive ourselves for not even making a mistake, but forgiving ourselves for holding on to that guilt and shame needlessly? We would recommend that you take some time to have self-care, whether you take that time to talk to another friend, express how you feel, talk about it to someone you trust, write it down, somehow get this energy out of your body, out of your energy field, because most of you are holding on to it so tightly for fear that you will do it again. And this takes us into the next subject matter. One of the things that Celeste was holding on to was that past life, that feeling of being vigilant and holding your breath to brace for trauma. You don't need to do that anymore. Because something happened in the past does not mean it is going to happen again. And oftentimes we brace ourselves, we prepare ourselves, and we want to learn from the past, and that's beautiful. You can still learn from the past while still letting it go. Just because something happened doesn't mean that you are going to respond in the same way if it does come around again. Most people will lose many loved ones over the course of their lifetime. When that happens, you will respond differently to each and every one. What is interesting is when it comes to Annette and how she feels about her father passing on, she was not there for him physically either. Although she feels much better about that situation because she was able to speak to him for many weeks before he died. They had many wonderful conversations. He understood why she couldn't be there. So there was no guilt there. But when it comes to a situation where you feel like it was too abrupt or you didn't have enough control over the situation, which, by the way, you very rarely have any control at all over those situations. When you feel like it was sudden, that's where some of these feelings of guilt and second guessing can come in. When you have something like a past life experience, or even just a trauma from this current lifetime, often we end up in a space of hypervigilance in order to protect ourselves from the possibility of that happening again. This is the question that I will ask you. Are you strong enough to handle it if it happens again? Do you have enough tools in your tool belt to stay in a healthy emotional state if it happens again? If whatever this trauma is that happened, can you operate differently than you did the last time? And it really doesn't matter what the trauma is. It is about your reaction to it, how you move through the emotions, how you express the emotions. How do you move past what happened? How do you forgive yourself? How do you forgive the situation or the person or people involved in the situation? How do you decide when it's time to really truly move on, when all of that energy has been dissipated? All of these things are factors in how you move forward. If this is the first time something like this has happened, let's say you've never lost a pet before, and so you don't know how you're going to respond. You will respond in the way that you know how at that time. And if it comes around again, if you happen to get another pet and it comes around again, you might respond slightly differently. You will still grieve, certainly. But the grieving process may be easier because you know how to express that grief, as opposed to holding on to it so tightly that it lasts for years, if not decades. There are so many things that we can help you with when it comes to this sort of transition, moving forward, being able to breathe again. You can ask all of your angels and guides to help you move forward, to help you feel safe again, and to help you trust that even if something else happens, that you are strong enough, you have the tools, and you will be able to handle it. I think the last question I have regarding this subject matter is, when we are experiencing grief, if somebody is about to cross over, how do we stop worrying about what is going to happen? And how do we stop worrying that it will happen again? And how do we know when to move into guided action? The reason why I'm asking this is, here's an example I want to give. And this is not necessarily an example from my own life, but it's an example that I'm feeling like is a common one. Let's take a pet, for example. Oftentimes, if losing a pet is too difficult, sometimes people will say, I will never get another pet again. It is too hard. It is too difficult to go through losing that pet, so I'm just not going to have another pet again. That lines up with what we're talking about here, which is being afraid that something tragic is going to happen again. Now, when you have a pet, it is an almost certainty that you will have to experience the death of that pet again, simply being that they live shorter lives than we do. It's a good example because it is an almost certainty that you will have to experience the death of that pet again if you decide to have it. How do we stop the worry? How do we express what we need to express to get out that worry and fear? Step into the flow and love of the relationship or the situation, and then take guided action when it's needed. We love this question for so many reasons. The example is a very good one because it is a very finite example. Some of the other examples might be a little more hazy in their reasoning or their logic to be able to move through or handle. But in this particular situation, and this can be applied to many others, we would suggest that you do not get another pet until you have finished grieving the previous one. And once you are in a place where you can truly say that your grief is at a level of, let's say, 10% or lower, where you are mostly remembering the good times you had with this pet. You are mostly remembering with fondness and with love and with happiness rather than the sadness or grief. That is when it would be a good time to make a decision whether or not you would like to have another pet again. If you are one of those people that is saying, I don't ever want to have another pet again because I don't want to ever have to go through that grief again, ask yourself why you don't want to go through that grief again. Was the grief that you felt in that particular period of time overshadowing the many, many years of joy, companionship, unconditional love, and happiness that that pet brought you? It's not necessarily about you not being able to handle the grief. It is often about the fact that you just don't have the tools to move through the grief. We would recommend that you find the tools that you need to move through the grief. And then you can make a decision on whether or not you would like another pet again. Now, your decision to have another pet doesn't have to be solely based on this. It may be based in practicality. You may decide not to have another one simply because your schedule is too busy or you travel too much, and that is perfectly okay. It is your decision. But to decide not to engage in love, let alone unconditional love, such as the love of a pet, simply for fear of the loss of it, you are doing yourselves a disservice. You are not allowing yourselves to feel the wide range of emotions that you are here to feel on this planet. How to remove the worry from your energy field? The worry that something bad is going to happen again? We would recommend that you just let go. Let go of the outcome of what's going to happen and enjoy the present moment. Moving into guided action is something that we will always give you a heads up on. It is very pertinent for this particular session because in this session, we were giving Annette a really big heads up with that very loud speaker playing the Ed Sheeran song. We did that very purposely. That was a really big sign for her to take some guided action. Now, it took her a little while to figure out what guided action she needed to take, but at least she got the message and she went into meditation, spoke with us, and got the messages that she needed. Sometimes that's all it takes. Just a moment to go within and get the message you need. If you are not getting any big signs or any nudges from us, from the universe, understand that you can just go with the flow and it is okay. Things will turn out the way that they turn out and you will be able to handle it. You will make the right decisions for where you are at that time. And can you always make different decisions? Of course you can. But it's all about the context of where you are spiritually, energetically, emotionally, and what tools you have at your disposal. All right. Thank you so much, angels. That was really helpful. And not only helpful from a session standpoint, but also for me personally. Clearly, I still have some things to work through regarding the loss of Lucius. Give yourselves some grace and honor for where you are in whatever situation you're dealing with, and understand that you are doing the very best that you can. And if there's something else that you must do, just know that your guides are here to help you. Don't forget to ask them for help. Thank you so much, everyone, and I look forward to connecting with you next week. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would be really amazing if you could like, share, and subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify, feel free to give it a review if you feel called. If you are following me on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you are notified for every single new episode of the Akashic Recordings. If you feel called to book a session with me, you can always reach me at infinitesoullove.com, and you can book directly on my website. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I can't wait to connect with you next week.